things. We've come to an agreement for a multi-year extension of J.J. Picollo's contract, and he's made the decision to exercise Q's option for 2026. And so this is very, this game's about a lot of things, but leadership is incredibly important. I've got great confidence in these two guys. I love the way they work together. So you got to have the right people, but stability and leadership is really important in this business too. So I couldn't be more excited about this. JJ and I started talking about this right after the season. I think we executed the document last week.
With JJ, is that you said multi-year? That where you want to say any 2 or 3 years, or
it's actually a 5-year extension.
Okay.
So he was in the final year of this year, so this will have him with us until 2030. We under contract through 2030, and we got one club option after that. So I think this is a really important period. I want that club option in case I want him around to make sure Bobby stays after 2030, so that'll be a critical year too. But no, 2030 and a 1-year option after that in 2031.
How important is, you talked about stability, keeping JJ in place. How impressive you've been with what he's done over the last couple of years as the top exec?
Well, I think it's hard not to be impressed, but beyond that, I know what he's doing. I know, he's a modern baseball executive. He's a good listener. He's got but he'll make decisions. He'll get the input of his people. He's got the courage of his convictions. And he has built trust. He's built a lot of trust and confidence, and so has Q. And the way that those two interact and challenge each other, they ask hard questions, that makes us better. So that's part of it too. But I don't think there's much argument about the body of his work since he was elevated into this role, really going back to really signing Aroldis Chapman right in 23, that when things didn't go well, and then getting Cole Reagans, and then what we did to build around that, signing Bobby, adding depth to the rotation, and it's continuing. I think this was he made some valiant efforts, I think, to try to get a power bat, an outfield bat. When that didn't work out, adding strength to the back of our bullpen is the best thing we could have done for our team when you think about it.
And top down too, throughout the organization as well, he's put in a lot of different processes within the player development system, scouting. How happy have you been with what he's been able to do to kind of revamp those things? Not on the major league level.
Absolutely, the work's never done. But when I think about people, systems, and processes, there's a lot of new things happening and happening quickly. You think about advanced science and technology, and so you got to keep up with it. And Q's unusual from that perspective too. I think part of what helped us and helped JJ was the challenges coming from the dugout when Q came on. Really, we had to speed up the pace at which we got information to where it was most needed. But no, look. We start all over here on March 27th against the Guardians, but highly confident that we have good leadership. I think we have a team that's capable of winning, and so very excited about it. But we got a lot of work to do.
You guys have invested in a lot of technology, even here, with putting new systems in place in Surprise Stadium, even on some of the backfield.
Right.
How important is that with the way that the game has evolved?
Yeah, I think you have to keep up, and it doesn't seem to slow down. There's new tools. You got to make sure. I think we've tended to be an early follower, because let some other people make the big investment, but you got to keep up with it. At the end of the day, though, it's really about the player and how they adapt. What JJ's been great at is really, I think, integrating the kind of his background, right, the traditional methods of scouting and development with all the advancements. That's what, because you're hearing from both sides, and that's really the best answer. And then I think he's proven himself that he knows. When I think about roster construction, that's an area where we've gotten to become more sophisticated. We have a roster simulator. That might even be something that AI, even AI, and how it's going to impact the game. What applications can we use to try to stay ahead of those things?
How important was the shift going into more of an analytical approach when evaluating players and scouts for the organization?
Well, I think it's just we have to keep up, right? We have to evolve, and so it's been very, very important. I think. But you don't. But we have talented scouts here, right? That know how to identify talent. What the analytics and the sciences do is, as it relates to evaluation, is really kind of validates what the eye sees, and we learn more. In development, though, there's just a lot. And the young player, that's another thing, Jalen. I think the young player is really embracing that versus maybe 10 years ago. Where not everybody, but these young ball players have kind of grown up.
We are one.
Incredibly. But again, never ending. Got to keep going. This is an arms race.
And what was your thoughts with JJ bringing on Ned Yost to be a senior advisor?
Well, I think that's look, Ned's been great. Ned's a really positive. I think it was 2023. He was here for an event. He gave me a pep talk. I think it came later in the year. Said I need another pep talk. But he's an optimist, right? And he's a guy that has patience with players, and I think he's going to help Q identify people in our system that might have the potential. So you can ask Q what he's going to do, but I think he's going to roam the minor leagues here for a while and try to help us identify guys with major league potential.
And you said you exercised Q's contract as well for 2026.
Right.
Where have you seen the biggest growth in him as a major league manager this being his third year at the helm?
Well, he put him in a tough spot in 23. I think the way he handled himself, and the way he handled himself down the stretch, and then the way he came back. And, we gave him we brought some tools. We kind of learned a lot about ourselves. What I would say about Q, I think he's one of the brightest managers in the game. High intellect, can process a lot of information, but he also is one that understands this is a player's game. He has good relationships with the players, but also he's intellectually curious, and that's probably what is most impressive about Q. He's always learning and always evolving, and so is JJ. I mean, that's really what, to me, modern leadership, you have to understand people. You also have to understand systems and processes, and those are two different things. But I think both those guys have that not only high IQ, but high emotional intelligence as it relates to leadership.
Going back to the beginning of the offseason, you had a couple of pieces you wanted to go out there and add. Do you feel satisfied as you stand here today with the roster you've assembled?
I think we have a really good roster. I think we're always trying to improve it. We had some targets that didn't get done. You think about an outfield bat, a middle of the order bat that would make us better. But again, I think at the end of the day, when we added Carlos Estevez, that was really the best thing we could do at the time to make our team better. We got to show up. We all have to stay healthy, but really excited about the group we got. But again, always trying to get better.
Was it more difficult this offseason with the way the market was kind of set up, where some of these guys waited longer, there were bigger deals out there? How would you compare it to last year when you guys were able to land a couple of those big names?
Yeah, I think JJ expressed that it seemed slow at times, but he got right after it and extended Michael Walker. That was a big piece of confidence. Michael Lorenzo coming back is important, and then of course the Carlos siding here late, and a few pieces here and there, and then of course the Cole Reagans. I assume he's going to be here the next 3 years anyway, but I think giving us cost certainty, through those years, and giving him something. He's got, there's always risk reward in those things. We took risk because we have a lot of confidence in him. He took some risk, but he also took some risks off the table as a young player.
When did they bring that contract to you, the idea of it, and kind of, to get your approval, and what did you think when they were able to get that done?
Well, they were talking about it for a while, and then it kind of came together really quickly. But no, and so I liked the idea. Again, I have confidence in JJ. He knows the things that we need to do to build. My job is to allocate resources, but I've got when JJ brings me something because of his track record and he's convicted about it, I'm going to want to try to make it happen. So that certainly was one. And I've got to, Bobby's Bobby's deal, that means a lot to the franchise, period, right? And really excited about the year ahead, but also how he can build it.
With Cole's deal, I mean, it's not something the organization has historically done a lot. So I was just curious, kind of, if you see that being something that maybe you guys would be more open to moving forward. JJ talked about, case by case basis.
You mean the type of deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what it gives us is cost certainty during those arbitration years. It's one thing we got in the Bobby contract. I mean, Bobby did a lot for his own security, but getting cost certainty for a player like him during this year and the next 2 years means a lot. Cost certainty, and that, I think that was the deal on it. And also, I think it gives the player confidence, right? There's some value when you express that type of confidence in a player if it's the right time, really wants to live up to those expectations and that commitment, that confidence.
Do you have I just want to check in on the stadium. I know you couldn't tell us much 2 weeks ago, but I thought I would ask again if there's any update you can share, just where you guys are at in conversations.
There's nothing. There's really nothing more than I can say than what we talked about at Royals Rally, other than, look, I think this is going to be a very exciting thing for our community, right? It's about economic development. It's also about securing the long-term home for the Royals. We're working very hard, and when we got a deal that's buttoned up and we're ready to talk about, we're looking forward to being able to do that.
Can you feel some excitement in the city as opening day approaches?
Totally feel excitement in the city. Yeah, and I always get excited down here. I can't help myself, but. There's no place, I said this in the clubhouse this morning, there is no place I'd rather be than right here, right now. And they're going to make me leave at the end of the week, but and then toward the end of spring training, I got to get out of here because they got to make a bunch of decisions, and I'm no help at all when that happens. So I'll certainly be out of here, but I'll be back and forth and spend a lot of time down here.
You can't stay any longer? I mean, I think you can make some decisions.
No, I have no, I can help them sign Cole Reagans, but when it's time to make those tough decisions that happen mid-March and beyond, and there's going to be some tough decisions out here, which is a good thing, right? It's harder to make this team than it was a couple of years ago. I think it's harder to make this team than it was a year ago, and that's a good thing for our team and for the Royals.
Is midseason still your target set goal for any stadium updates?
Yeah, that's our objective. Is mid calendar year. We hope to be ready to talk in more detail about it.